Hey guys, I'm Carolina Coutinho. And excuse the setup. I think this is as good as it's gonna get. The whole me in a little corner thing wasn't working, so I'm gonna try to do this in one take, and this is the next best thing. So it's like if we were really in person. So I decided to do my final project on Banksy. For one, I really liked our tour in Bristol. Being able to see his work in person. I had known of him before, obviously, like you hear the name, but I could only really connect a few details about him. Just the fact that I knew he was like anonymous. The girl with the balloon, that's pretty much all I knew of him, heard of him. But from our tour, I feel like we learned a lot, so that was pretty cool. I don't know how much of it was true, but yeah, I thought it was pretty cool regardless, and I got to see more of his work, which I really appreciated. So yeah, this is my presentation on Banksy. So let's get started. So who is Banksy? So let me get a little closer for you guys there. So of course he is from Bristol. That's where a lot of his original first artworks are located. That's where we took the tour, obviously. And he started in the early 1990s. That's when he started getting like more official with his work, I guess, if that makes sense. Like people knew who he was, or like his pieces were being known a little bit more. He is known obviously for his stenciled graffiti. Mainly that's because he started off originally doing freehand, but he started to do stencils obviously for time purposes, and he was not the first to do it, of course, but he was kind of the one to put it on the map for the most part. Famous for public stunts. That little bullet point right there, the famous for public stunts. He's very well known, like he is known worldwide, obviously. A lot of people like him, a lot of people don't. It's very kind of controversial, up to the viewer's discretion whether it's something they appreciate or not. I find his work very nice, and I'll get into that later actually. But yeah, famous for public stunts. For one of the public stunts was he dropped a whole bunch of fake 10-pound bills, I think it was 10 pounds, from like the sky, and like people still have them nowadays. Like you can literally find them on the internet. Another one was his girl with the red balloon that it literally kind of like broke apart in auction, and like it was worth even more after that. And the last bullet point, global influence, like I said, he's known pretty worldwide, so it's not really an uncommon name. Even like talking to my parents and like my family about Banksy and stuff, I'd ask like, do you guys know who Banksy is? And be like, no, I don't think so. But as soon as I'd give like even the slightest detail, it was pretty easy for them to figure out who I was talking about. So here we're gonna talk about Banksy's impact in the British art culture. Brought street art into the mainstream. So like I said, he made his work very mainstream. A lot of people don't like him because they think like he's a sellout, but really he made it. Like he just happens to be the one who made it big. Challenge traditional art spaces. So of course his main work is graffiti, which happens to be on the side of random buildings or stores, things like that, really. So for a long time, art was on canvases and things like that, and of course there were people before him who did graffiti. He was not the first ever, like, nor like the one to invent it, but he definitely made it even bigger than what it already was at the time. Blurred lines between vandalism and art. So that's like one of the biggest arguments on why people don't like Banksy, is because some people see his work as vandalism, like not legit. And now the question is, what makes his work so valuable compared to art, like art in museums and things like that, and where is the line drawn basically between him and other graffiti artists, or him and other more traditional artists. So he kind of challenged that boundary, and now a lot of people are finding that art, it can really be anywhere. Sorry, I'm still kind of sick. Political and social what is that? Commentary. Political and social commentary. So one of his biggest themes was obviously, he's very political. He focuses a lot of war, on anti-war, on peace, on government, things like that, the public, and just a lot of like societal issues. And so his pieces speak a lot on that, which is also very controversial, of course. And then market disruption. Banksy's work is worth quite literally millions, and a lot of people think that insane, which it is kind of insane, like for an art to be even worth millions. But for someone to take a chunk out of a wall from a building and sell that in auction, it's kind of crazy. Next, the Mild West. So we actually saw this piece in person. I think this was on our last stop on the tour, actually. This was in response to the police crackdowns with like the raves and the parties and stuff going on. The locals really liked it. It's been protected ever since. The museum is still in place. Yes, yeah, it's still protected. On the West, obviously the Mild West is not exactly how the saying goes. It's usually here, so you guys can read that. It's usually, actually it might be backwards, but what, I'll fix it. It's usually the Wild West, but I feel like it kind of plays to how what's going on in what was going on in Bristol isn't really that big of a deal. Kids, like young adults partying, like wow, like that's crazy. So it's kind of a little play on that, on the words of, you know, like what's going on around the world is so much worse compared to what's going on there and like what they're cracking down on. But yeah, Girl with Balloon. This is probably one of his most famous works ever. If someone doesn't know who Banksy is, they probably know who this, like they've probably seen this artwork. Seen as a symbol of hope, innocence, and loss, or maybe even lost innocence. It's obviously, people take it as they will. It's up to the viewer. Became even more famous when it shredded itself at auction in 2018. So yeah, it was at auction and it was very much intact. And then yeah, it shredded itself. It literally kind of like self-destructed in a way. And then I believe it sold for $23 million. And now it is called Love is in the Bin. So yeah, it sold for quite a bit. Dismaland. So this is